Welcome to Salon Tots. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and this unbelievably talented young woman next to me is Zoey Deutch. You might recognize her from everything, especially if you maybe have teens or tweens in your life like I do. She's been acting since the age of 15, which is a long time in your career. You've seen her in Vampire Academy, Everybody Wants Some. We love you so much, and Everybody Wants Some. We love that movie at our house. Before I Fall. She's now starring in a brand new movie called Flower with Catherine Hahn. What a cast. Oh my God. Tim Heidecker and Adam Scott, among others. The New York Times just called it wildly entertaining. They are correct. Let's take a look.
What are you doing later? Do you want to come over to my place, play Mario Kart?
I have to go meet my future stepbrother.
He just got out of rehab. Try to be nice.
Is that him? He's hot.
Oh, I know. That's Shoddy. That's the sponsor.
So that's not Luke.
No, there's Luke.
Damn. Junkies are supposed to be skinny.
So, Erica, you must be psyched to have an older brother type in the house.
Totally psyched. Get to have a complete stranger living in my home. No offense, buddy.
Yeah. Babe, are you okay?
I really want to punch you in the face right now. I just don't want to ruin those lip injections that Daddy gave you.
At least my daddy is not in jail.
Luke's a complicated little guy. He accused a teacher of fondling him. Thinks he saw him around town.
Shaking down a child molester is our moral obligation. Nobody's going anywhere until we see this guy molest somebody.
I don't think he will. He's like a pro. That's what you get like a subterranean dungeon for.
What?
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh.
Do I know you?
I'm sorry?
Bowling alley? You're hot old guy. Me and my friends, we've been ogling your goodies for like the last 6 months.
My goodies.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
So what's the plan?
What if we break in and tie him up?
Yeah, dom him like he's our little bitch.
Surprise! I'm not stalking you or anything. As you can tell, I have like major daddy issues.
Where were you last night?
With my friends.
Doing what?
A little bit up.
You get it?
No, I'm trying to find the right filter.
Buying tampons, like what's it to you?
What just happened?
We're vigilantes. Cheers.
Are you okay?
No, I'm obviously not okay.
Where are you guys going?
To go buy some crack? You wanna throw it down?
It's okay. They're not buying drugs, Bob. Just let them
No, I get the joke.
I love Catherine Hahn.
Oh my God, everybody loves her, right? Like what a group of people.
She's just the greatest. Catherine is such a gem and such an amazing actor to work with. And I actually only had, I met her 5 minutes before we started shooting together. We shot the movie in 15 and a half days. She shot the movie in 3 days. So, it's one of those, like, I feel like you're maybe used to this, but everybody who comes in to talk about their tiny independent movie, they're like, it was the smallest movie that was ever made. We made it for no money. Like, cut to him here saying, it was the smallest movie anyone's ever made. We had no money or time.
We made this movie in 5 minutes on $10.
Yeah, it was a blowtorch and some floss.
And we just MacGyvered our way through this thing, and look at it.
That's literally how it feels.
But you wouldn't know it to look at it. And you have such a team, and you have such an interesting director, and with Max Winkler, and it's just a really unique film. It's a different kind of look at teenagers, and teenage girls, than maybe we're used to seeing. I want to talk about that. Let's start with that, about this character, Erica, who you play, who is different from other characters you've played, who's different from other characters we've seen before.
Yeah.
So how did you get on board with this, and what was it about her that made you go, yes, I want to be in a movie where my very first scene, my head, you only see the back of my head.
Look, I think when men play anti-heroes, they're perceived as morally ambiguous. Or if a guy were to play this kind of part, he'd be perceived as morally ambiguous. And when a woman plays anti-heroes or a part like this, they're perceived as possibly unlikable or lacking redeeming qualities. And I kind of wanted to put 2 middle fingers up to that double standard. You know what I mean? Like, I was so stoked to play this bold and no fucks given, really passionate, really interesting human being who, though she presents herself with this cavalier bravado sort of thing, behind that is a real fragility, of course, like there always is. And I remember when I was 17, being so frustrated by the world and so frustrating to the people around me. I'm sure if my mom were to watch this, she could confirm I was frustrating. And she felt really much so in line with her, with Erica. She's frustrated and really frustrating, and I just love her. I really did. I fell in love with her.
And it's interesting watching this kind of character for me as a woman, as a feminist, because when you read accounts from people like Peggy Orenstein's Girls and Sex, she talks about girls like this.
Right.
Specifically, there are a lot of girls out there going through high school right now, teenage girls, who are living the kind of life that she is, where they do have this kind of swagger about them, and they have this no fucks given kind of attitude. But it's very much a protection.
And it's also the conversation about Erica's sexuality is tricky because I never perceived it as sex acts. It's all very transactional. Everything she does is just trying to get some semblance of control. She's desperately seeking control because she feels like she can't find it anywhere else. She feels like she's floundering. And there was we talked a lot about consent, and that everything that she does is her choice. And have you ever read Reviving Ophelia?
Oh yeah.
It's a really amazing book, and that was
back in my day, yeah.
But it's an amazing book. It really is, and super. I don't think I had read it before I was working on this, prepping this movie, and I found it to be super informative and helpful. And we read a lot of books like Go Ask Alice and all the Judy Blume books and things to try to, tap into that adolescent experience, which is really painful and weird.
Right. No, it's an unbelievably painful and weird time for a lot of people. And this character that you play is going on this journey where she always has agency, even if she is also hiding a lot of her own vulnerability.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that being said, this movie is so much so about her discovering the strength and vulnerability. It's like a lot of coming-of-age movies are about the loss of innocence, and this is much more so about the regaining of innocence, which I found to be really interesting and different.
Yeah, a kind of a journey back to that. Well, I want to ask about that too, because you have been playing teenagers for a long time now. You obviously are not that far out of your teen years yourself, but you've been in the business long enough that you've seen, I would imagine, some changes. And it feels like maybe now we're at this point where the storytelling around adolescence is changing a little bit with things like 13 Reasons Why, with The End of the Fucking World, with these stories about adolescence that are darker, or even Riverdale, right? Like these stories about teenagers that take a different kind of turn as opposed to maybe your High School Musicals, which, by the way, love High School Musical.
Same.
Love High School Musical. But I'm wondering what it feels like for you being part of that and seeing what feels like a change.
I have a very weird experience, and I don't know if it's because I don't know if there's something wrong with, I haven't made rules in my career, so I've kind of gone back and forth from like drama to comedy to high school to 25 to back to high school, back to period piece, so I've been sort of in this melting pot of tricking people where I can play, like I played 15 in Rebel in the Rye, and then I played 25 in Why Him within the same kind of month. So I have had an interesting experience. I'm not sure I have the best perspective because I haven't just been reading adolescent stories. I've sort of been reading everything. But I do think culturally there is a shift, and with Love, Simon, and I made a movie called Before I Fall, which I felt like was really sensitive and dark for a young adult movie. It's exciting. I think also we are respecting the teenage experience a little bit more. At least I think I'm watching it be respected a little bit more, and it's well deserved. Like we're seeing right now with the march. We were just talking about that with your kids and how teens are taking things into their own hands and like recognizing that the generations before them are not taking things into their own hands, and I think they deserve the respect.
Yeah, and the success this weekend of both Love, Simon and and this film at the box office, especially relative to their budgets, and a lot of it is just based on word of mouth. Certainly indicates that there's a real hunger for these kinds of stories.
Right. I think so, which is exciting.
And with one of your last films, you talked about Before I Fall. When you were talking about that film, I know in a previous interview you talked about the culture of bullying and the culture of meanness, which is a subject that also comes up in this film,
right.
and the way that people treat each other.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're at this moment now where that is an issue, and also in like things like 13 Reasons Why,
yeah.
and you're seeing it explored. It seems like you gravitate towards stories like that. You want to be part of stories that are elevating the conversation around, as what you've put as the culture of meanness.
Mm. I guess for me, when I'm looking at stories and characters, the thing I gravitate towards, it seems obvious, but is relatability. I'm never looking at likability, I'm looking at relatability, and I've found stories that discuss the culture of meanness very relatable, because we all experience the culture of meanness, whether it be at home, with friends, at school, at work, anywhere, always, and how we engage and how we deflect or how we confront or how we ignore is really kind of fascinating.
And you've talked about that in your own experiences of being bullied in middle school. So what is it like then when fans come to you and say, this reminds me of something I went through? I mean, do you feel
it's super
that?
Powerful.
Yeah.
It's super powerful. And I have it's really difficult to explain the feeling of somebody coming up to you and saying, oh, this changed my life, or this reminded me of this in my life, and I talked to this person in my life because of the, it's really, it gives such a different importance to the work that you're doing, which is amazing. I think sometimes, especially when you're doing press, it becomes all about you, and then when you get to talk to people and realize it's about them, it's so much more gratifying, because it needs to be about them.
Right, that's what you hope to do in storytelling, right?
Right.
And this is a film that I think is going to open up so many conversations.
I think so. It's very confronting.
Right? It's about this character who sees herself as a vigilante. It's about these issues that feel very topical right now in terms of different versions of of the same story, and who you can trust and who's telling the truth around issues of sexual assault and sexual abuse as one of the through lines through this, and it really leaves a lot of that up to the viewer.
Right, and I think, look, we made this movie before the Me Too movement and before any of these stories began breaking, but it's of no surprise, and it wasn't a new thing that people in our industry were using their power for evil and not good, and taking advantage of their position of power, and also that the social justice system fails people. And in this specific story, these are teens who are trying to take matters into their own hands. Do they do it in the right way? Probably not. But do they do the best that they can? Yeah, actually, they make bad decisions, but there are really good intentions behind it, and it's yeah. I go on tangents.
And you come from a family. You've grown up in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Your mother is a well-known actress as well. Your father's a director. You've grown up in this industry. You've probably seen a lot of changes, and you have spoken out about your own ambitions and how you feel you would advise anybody who wants to get into this industry to not be afraid of it and to not be afraid of your own ambitions. Do you feel that just in the past several months, are you starting to see changes in terms of representation, in terms of pay equity? Are things, we from the outside see the conversation.
Right, you go, is it all just talk? Is there
right.
actual change? And I think that we're in this really special pocket where I believe truly that we are going to enter a golden age of storytelling. I really do, because the misrepresentation, the underrepresentation is so obvious, and the ways in which we treat men differently than we treat women so obvious. I think we're on the precipice and the cusp of some incredible movies and TV shows and art. I mean, people are excited and fired up and angry and passionate, and and they have to let that out. And I think we're all learning how to listen better, and I'm certainly ready to listen better.
Step back and hear each other while we're also talking. So speaking of all of the great art that's coming out, I can't believe you actually made a movie with your mom and your mother, Leah Thompson, who we all know from a million wonderful things, especially Back to the Future, and your sister. I can't even imagine.
Yes, you can. You seem like you're super close with your kids.
I have 2 daughters. I love my daughters. There's never going to be a world where the 3 of us are collaborating on a film together.
Never say never.
You should see us bake cookies together. Like, that's hard enough.
Same.
It's hard enough. So how did that come about? And talk a little bit about the film.
Sure, it's called The Year of Spectacular Men, and it was written by my sister Maddie Deutch, and she stars in it, and she scored it. Actually, this is a fun fact, not so fun actually, just a fact, that less than 1% of films are scored by women, which is shocking. My mother, Leah Thompson, directed it, and my dad, Howard Deutch, and I produced it. And look, I mean, I think it was a moment when we all sort of looked at each other and we were like, why are we begging for jobs? Why don't we take matters into our own hands? And we have it all in-house. Let's do it. And we did, and it was a very fulfilling experience, obviously as grassroots and as personal as you could possibly imagine. And I'd be lying if I said there weren't moments that were tricky, but I have the utmost respect to my folks. And it's a really neat thing when you get to be surrounded and be raised by like-minded artists and humans and get to learn from them. And I mean, it's not a new thing that people, you know, when you grow up in it, you become a sort of apprentice to it. And it's never-endingly interesting to me that people are shocked when other people go into the same business as their parents. I'm like, doesn't that make sense? But you know, it was a really good experience, and I can't wait for the movie to come out.
I'm excited too. But I think it's, I'm never shocked when people go into the business when it's like you own an automobile dealership.
But why is it any different?
Because your business is so hard.
No, but
right?
all businesses are so hard, and you only learn how to navigate the challenges that you face by being exposed to it. And so it doesn't seem any different to me at all than, you know, if it seems completely consistent with any other trade or any other craft.
So it sounds like your mom was incredibly, I mean, you obviously got this message then of encouragement and incredible support.
With a little subtext of, you should be a lawyer, but support on the surface, but subtext of, I think you should not do this.
I will be proud of you no matter what you do.
But you should.
But law school,
yeah, would be good.
Maybe you want to look at that LSAT. maybe just pushing it just a little, just some of those GRE books a little closer to your bedside table at night.
Do you have a feeling of what your daughters might go into?
Oh, it's awful. They both want to go into the media. It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I'm very proud of them, and they're super talented, and I love them to death. And one is already a screenwriter, and the other is a performer. And I couldn't be prouder of my talented daughters, but also, oh my God! But also, you know, medical school would be nice too.
Yeah, see,
like
their math
scores would be really great too as well. But whatever, we all love the strong, independent young women in our lives, and it's really cool when you see it going from generation to generation.
Yeah,
like in
and
your
they
family.
learn in your family, and you learn from the amazing women that you're surrounded by, and the amazing men that support amazing women. And I you know, we only are as good as the sum of our parts. So I'm really lucky that I got to be surrounded by people who just gave me the gift of knowing that I was enough and that I could do it and that it was possible.
Zoey, you're keeping the chain going, obviously, supporting other people as well and other artists. The movie, once again, I have to give a shout out to it because it's really incredible. It's called Flower. Why is it called Flower?
You're going to have to watch it and see. The truth is, I've always been confused by the title. Because she's blossoming into a human being. Literally, I don't know. That's the truth. I have always been a little confused.
It's called Flower. You find out for yourself why it's called. Watch it and tell us.
You don't want to
Tell
know
us-
from me.
Tell us why it's called Flower.
I don't want to tell you the answer. You're supposed to interpret the art as it is.
It's getting amazing buzz, amazing word of mouth. It is dark and funny and wholly original. You definitely want to check out this incredibly talented cast. And it's out in limited release now and in wide release, I think, this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. You got to go see it and see everything else she does too.
You're
It's
amazing.
No, shut up! Tune into all of Salon TV's shows by liking Salon on Facebook and opting in for notifications. You'll get updates when we're live.